Okay, so welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into the unfolding story of Dorit and Paul PK Kemsley.
Yeah, figures many of you will definitely recognize from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Exactly. Their initial separation announcement back in May 2024, it suggested they wanted, an amicable split.
Right, keep it friendly for the kids, all that.
But, well, recent developments,
Yeah.
they seem to indicate a potentially more complex situation brewing.
Definitely. We've got this Page 6 article just out April 26, 2025.
And it details Dorit filing for divorce and then PK's reaction on social media. It's quite something.
It really is.
So our goal here is to kind of unpack these key events, maybe explore the motivations behind them.
Yeah, and try to figure out what this tells us about where things actually stand now beyond the headlines.
Okay, let's dive in.
Well, what immediately jumps out, I think, is the contrast, between that initial story of separating amicably.
Like a conscious uncoupling almost.
Exactly. And this more adversarial tone that seems to be creeping in now.
Yeah.
So the Page 6 report confirms it. Dorit officially filed for divorce last Friday.
Citing irreconcilable differences, which is pretty standard, I guess.
It is standard language, yes. But while a formal filing wasn't maybe totally unexpected after nearly a year apart,
Right. It had to happen eventually.
it's the specifics in her filing. That's what really makes you pause.
Totally. I remember their statement. They wanted to safeguard our deep friendship, maintain a harmonious environment for our children.
Yeah, while they reevaluate our relationship, sounded very careful.
But now, she's reportedly asking for sole legal and physical custody of the kids, Jagger and Phoenix.
And spousal support from PK, plus asking him to cover her legal fees.
That paints a very, very different picture than that initial friendly separation statement, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And that demand for sole custody,
Yeah.
that's particularly interesting,
Especially given what she said before.
right? Remember on the show, on Real Housewives?
Mm.
She talked about PK's struggles, his sobriety.
And she raised concerns about him as a father, didn't she? Some quite strong words.
She did. So this legal move now, for sole custody, it could suggest, well, maybe a serious breakdown in trust about co-parenting.
From her perspective, at least, it makes you wonder what might have happened over the last year.
Yeah, what changed behind the scenes to lead to this specific request.
Exactly. And then almost like clockwork, as this news breaks.
PK hits Instagram.
Yes. He puts up this story. It says, "No one plays the victim better than the one who caused the damage."
Wow. And set to music?
Yeah, Culture Club song Victims. I mean, talk about pointed.
And then he deleted it.
Pretty quickly, yeah. But, screenshots live forever.
Of course. So what's your first take on that? The message, the song, the quick deletion?
It feels reactive, like very immediate.
Definitely reads as a direct response to Dorit's filing.
Right.
Probably fueled by some strong feelings.
Uh-huh. Like he feels blamed or misrepresented.
That's how it sounds. The victim language.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests he thinks her legal demands, maybe the whole filing, is unfair. Like she's portraying herself wrongly.
And the deletion. Maybe second thoughts. Or, advice.
Could be either. A moment of regret, maybe realizing it's not a good look. Or perhaps his team stepped in to pull that down.
The article doesn't give a reason for why PK felt she was playing the victim, but...
But the timing makes it hard not to connect the dots.
Right. To the sole custody request, the spousal support, the legal fees. It feels like he sees those actions as the damage or the victim playing.
That seems like a very plausible interpretation, yeah. And think about the timing of the filing itself.
What do you mean?
Well, this all comes just after those photos surfaced. The ones of PK kissing Shayna Wall.
Oh, right. Outside Cipriani's in L.A. after a dinner date.
Yeah. Now, okay, they've been separated for nearly a year. The article confirms that. But still.
But the timing of those pictures coming out, and then bam, the divorce filing with these specific demands.
Exactly. It could have been the catalyst for Dorit to move forward legally and maybe with a tougher stance.
So PK's post might have been partly defensive, like pushing back against how he looked after those photos came out.
It's possible. A sort of, don't blame me, look what she's doing kind of reaction. It adds another layer.
It really does. And wasn't there chatter online about Shayna Wall looking a bit like Dorit?
The article mentions that, yeah. Fans noticed a resemblance. It's one of those details that fuels the fire online.
Just adds to the whole trauma of it all.
It does. But if we stick to the known sequence, separation announcement almost a year ago,
Then the PK and Shayna Wall photos,
followed very quickly by Dorit's divorce filing with tough demands.
and PK's deleted Instagram blast.
Right. That quick escalation suggests whatever understanding they had about how the separation would go, well, it seems to have broken down.
Yeah, the harmonious environment seems a bit shaky right now.
And going back to their history on the show, you mentioned Dorit talking about PK's issues.
Yeah, the alcohol, sobriety, and her comments about his fathering.
And PK did respond to that, didn't he? At the season 14 reunion, Andy Cohen read his statement.
Oh, that's right. He talked about the Dorit he married, mentioning her kindness, integrity, and grace.
And then contrasted it with, well, the current version, said he hoped she'd find her way back.
Even that statement felt loaded at the time, didn't it? Like there was already significant tension there.
It really did. It suggested he already felt she'd changed negatively long before this latest filing.
So when you put that reunion statement alongside this new Instagram post,
It reinforces this narrative he seems to hold, that he feels wronged, and that maybe Dorit isn't acting fairly or truthfully in his view.
it's a reminder that we only see snippets, right? These public statements are just one side, very filtered.
So true. These are obviously very personal, very complex dynamics playing out very publicly.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's start trying to sum this up. We started with what looked like a mutual, maybe even friendly separation.
And now we have a formal divorce filing, with Dorit asking for sole custody, spousal support, legal fees.
Immediately followed by PK's very pointed, though quickly deleted, social media jab about playing the victim.
The timing, coming right after those photos of PK with someone else, just adds fuel to the fire.
So what are the big takeaways here from you, looking at all this?
Well, the speed of the shift is definitely key. From that amicable separation narrative to this potentially much more contentious divorce.
It suggests the issues might have been deeper all along than they let on.
I think so. And Dorit's specific requests, especially sole custody and support, signal a real split in how they see the future. And maybe, for her, a real concern about co-parenting.
And PK's reaction, even if brief.
It shows pretty clearly he disagrees strongly with her actions. Feels unfairly portrayed, perhaps. It's a clash of perspectives.
And it definitely leaves us wondering.
Oh, lots of questions. Like, what exactly in Dorit's filing triggered that specific Instagram post from PK? Was it just the whole thing or one detail?
And why delete it so fast? Strategy, emotion, both.
How will Dorit respond, if at all, to being called a victim who caused damage? That's a big accusation.
Huge. And what about the kids? They wanted that harmonious co-parenting. What does seeking sole custody really mean for that going forward?
Yeah, the implications there are significant. This whole situation really feels like it's still unfolding.
It really does.
And it's just such a stark reminder, isn't it, how these public figures put forward a certain image, a certain narrative.
But the reality underneath can be way more complicated.
Exactly. What seemed mutual now reveals maybe some deep tensions, very different views on why the marriage failed.
And very different ideas about what happens next.
It really makes you think about, relationships in general, especially under that kind of intense public spotlight.
Totally. And how, even when things seem settled, unexpected actions can suddenly reveal a whole different layer of complexity.
A lot to unpack and probably more to come.